Hello, 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 hello. Hey, this is Warren Redlick. Thank you so much for watching. Uh, just going to do a video right now. Very excited about all the great things that are happening in the world of Elon Musk. And a lot has been happening. And just brief note for those who regularly follow me, I'm about to go to Japan in like a little more than 2 days, going to be gone for 2.5 weeks. So my video output will be limited again due to travel. Maybe working on the Bikini Nomad project while we're in Japan. Might do some create some video content when I get back to Bangkok. We'll publish some videos from the Nomad perspective. Please subscribe to the Bikini Nomad channel on YouTube, and there will probably be an account coming on X soon for that. And that's talking about what life is like living as a nomad in different places, particularly in Asia, but will probably eventually spread around the world. And just to reassure everyone, I will not be wearing a bikini in any of the videos unless there's a tremendous popular demand for this, which I think is unlikely. So, in the world of Elon, there's a whole lot going on. Obviously, the big thing hitting right now is we have a shareholder vote coming up in 11 days. This is a really big deal for the future of Tesla. And don't take that from me, take that from the Tesla team. When they published a video, they said the present and future value creation that Tesla represents is at risk. Mr. Sena Weijan asks, why, we'll talk about FSD, so let's do it now. Why FSD 12.4 stuck if they bought lots of NVIDIA chips? So there's a lot of different things that go on to developing FSD, and this is like a big piece of news that's going on is Tesla appears to be making rapid progress on FSD. I won't be talking about Dogecoin, David, thank you. They're making rapid progress on FSD. And version 12 has been a significant improvement over version 11. Elon reports, and we know Elon is sometimes over optimistic, that version 12.4 will be a significant, like 5 to 10x improvement over version 12.3. And we believe that 12.4 has gone out to some employees, but it has not gone out to customers yet. They probably hit some snags. They're making sure it's safe before they release it to people. Version 12.5 is coming. That may be a 5 to 10x improvement over version 12.4. This is because Tesla is no longer compute constrained. So lots of good things happening. Yeah, it's 8:30 a.m. here in Thailand. I believe it's 9:30 a.m. in New York, 9:30 p.m. in New York, and the day before, and 6:30 p.m. in California. My target audience is mostly the United States. Sorry to Australia. Sorry to Australia and the rest of the world. It's probably a wrong time for Europe. Who knows? So when we look at the future for FSD, which is a really big deal, we have coming on August 8th the Cybercab reveal. What will be in the Cybercab reveal, we don't know. But I really think this shareholder vote is a really, really big deal for a lot of people, and for a lot of people who are paying attention to Tesla, because if the shareholder vote is no, that is a potentially cataclysmic thing for the future of Tesla and for Tesla shareholders. And I'm a Tesla shareholder, and I'm watching that one closely. And I waver between optimism and pessimism. I think that the institutional shareholders are now more likely to vote no. We know CalPERS is voting no. Vanguard is probably voting no because they voted no last time. I think generally speaking, the large state pension funds are probably going to vote no. And then there's just this open question of how are retail shareholders going to vote, because retail shareholders are a bigger share of the vote than were before. I've been accumulating shares even with my recent sale of 20%. I voted before I sold. It was effective April 15th, I think. So I was a shareholder of record as of April 15th. Stephen Mark Ryan's been accumulating. Jason DeBolt's been accumulating. Dave Lee's probably been accumulating shares. A lot of the people that I know who are very bullish on Elon have been accumulating shares, so that's a positive sign. But we don't know how widespread Elon man bad syndrome is in the retail investor community, so there's some risk. Um, so yeah, then there's a concern among a lot of foreign shareholders that they're not able to vote. I've heard that from a lot of people. I just heard that from someone else. CCOT in the chat is saying that they're having trouble trying to vote their shares in Australia. I know that Tesla Boomer Mama, I'm not a personal fan of Tesla Boomer Mama, but I am a fan of what she's been doing to try to help people vote their shares. So please follow Tesla Boomer Mama on X, at least until the shareholder vote. Then feel free to unfollow her and mute her after that. No, seriously, she's doing good work there. I don't like her, but she is doing good work there. So we'll give her credit for when she deserves credit. So yeah, please vote. Please vote for the board recommendations. I think it's likely that the move to Texas will fail because votes that aren't cast count as no votes. I suspect that the institutional shareholders are likely to vote no on the move to Texas. That might be universal among institutional shareholders. I think it's a really, really heavy lift to get the move to Texas. We'll see. Maybe the vote goes a lot better than I expected, and maybe Elon and Kimball can vote their shares on that vote, and that makes a big difference because I think together they're 15+%. Um, why be in the stock if you're going to vote no? Makes no sense. Get the hell out. Well, Elon man band syndrome effectively means that things don't make sense. Why would you expect people with Elon man band syndrome to make decisions that make sense? That's the whole point of Elon man band syndrome. We don't know how widespread it is. We know that Koguan Leo owns a lot of stock and he has Elon man band syndrome and he's voting no. I believe Fred from Electric owns some shares. I don't know how many. And he's voting no. I think Earl Frunk Puppy has some shares and is voting no. Have they sold a lot of their stock? I don't know. I don't know how widespread it is. Hopefully, the shareholder vote ends up being very positive, and I worried about nothing and I buy back in. But that's the big risk. So that's something I've talked about before. I don't need to belabor that again. So let's move on. And I want to, sorry, a personal note. We were on a drive yesterday. This is a Tesla personal note. We drove yesterday to a place called Lopburi in Thailand. It's about a 160-kilometer drive. It takes like 2 or 3 hours depending on traffic out of Bangkok. And we're driving in my girlfriend's Honda City, which is a smaller than a Honda Civic car. And I just fundamentally, especially on the ride home at night, I just fundamentally felt unsafe. And I've decided I'm probably buying a Tesla. We're about to go on a trip. This is another personal note. We're about to travel to Japan and South Korea. We're going to be leaving in a couple days and back in late June. So more likely August and July, I have to take like 1 or 2 more trips. But when we get back in August, after I'm done with my trips, I think I might buy a Tesla Model Y here in Thailand. Cost me about $55,000, including FSD. FSD beta is not available in Thailand yet, but my expectation is that FSD will be available within a year, and I want it. So I could buy a BYD Atto 3, which is a pretty nice electric vehicle, small. Might be smaller than a Model 3, but it's an SUV format. And it costs about half of what a Model Y costs. So that's tempting, but I really want a Tesla. It's hard. Once you have Tesla, it's hard to go to anything else. And BYDs look cool. The Atto 3 doesn't look cool, but um, and there's a BYD Seal, which is like a Model 3 that's significantly less expensive than a Model 3. So I suppose that's an option as well. But I think if I was going to buy the Seal, I might as well buy a Tesla. It's not that much less expensive. The BYD Atto 3 is like half the price. So, Mitradeet says my 1,800 shares voted for Elon after watching your video. Yeah, people are criticizing me for selling stock or announcing I sold the stock. So, I think I think that got some people woken up and they voted. So I think that mattered. I hope it helped. I hope it helps swing things. But I did it just as a risk management strategy. I'm concerned. Um, so moving forward, I do think that we're going to, and I did see 4 Teslas yesterday on the roads, 3 on the way north and 1 on the way back, all Model Ys. So the Teslas, and I saw some BYDs. I saw a BYD dealership. We are seeing the spread of electric vehicles. The transition to sustainable energy is going full bore, and I'm really excited to see it. So I don't feel like there's a lot more Tesla news. If you have questions about Tesla, you think there's other things we should talk about on Tesla, let me know. I know we have a lot of space news. SpaceX Starship is launching June 5th. And this is the thing I'm traveling to Japan. I arrive in the morning of June 5th and Starship launches on June 5th. Now, Japan is many hours ahead of the US, so it might end up being June 6th in Japan when Starship launches. Kevin King, yes, I will buy back if the vote is yes. I will. I sold in my retirement account, which means there's no tax consequences to buying or selling inside a retirement account. And my plan is to buy back when the results of the shareholder vote become, if it's a yes on the shareholder vote, I buy back immediately. And I may lose some shares, depending on what happens with the share price in that time. I may lose some shares or gain some shares, but it'll be a relatively small impact. Rumi says, I voted yes for the stocks bought on or before 2021. I voted no for the shares bought on after 2022. I do not think Elon deserves yes vote from 2022 23, 24 shareholders, just my opinion, you do you. Yeah, but it's a compensation package from 2018 for work that was done before 2022. So, you're voting on whether he should get compensated for the work he did before you bought the stock. And like Rumi's comment, I mean, I don't agree with Rumi, but this is a sentiment that I'm concerned about. Any chance you add timestamps after stream ends? Albert asks. So I believe there is an auto timestamp feature. I have found that it's not worth it. I know that as a user, I like having timestamps on videos, but my videos do not have clear topics that make it easy to line up timestamps. I'm not that consistent in how I talk about things to be able to do that. And I don't get enough views for, if I'm not Joe Rogan, I'm not a big YouTuber with 1 million subscribers and I don't get, 100,000 views on a video. I'll get 5 or 10,000 views on this video and maybe, hundreds of viewers will use the timestamps. It just ends up not being worth it. I appreciate it. I know it's good. It's just not, it's not worth my time to do it. And if I do a structured long video, because I used to do a lot more edited video content, I did add timestamps in the past, but for live streams, it's just hard to like isolate. All right, what did I talk about when, and how do I lay that out? Because I interact with the chat. What am I going to put in the timestamp when I interact with the chat? Jupiter James asks, Warren, is it true that the Tesla board can ignore the vote entirely and still grant Elon the compensation? What are the repercussions from doing that? I don't think the judge will approve that. I think the judge will shut down that if that happens. So, why would the judge? The judge didn't find the shareholder vote adequately persuasive and knocked it down with a positive shareholder vote. If there's a no vote and they still do the comp package, she's very likely going to strike that down. So yeah, I mean, I like Albert. I appreciate it. I do personally prefer videos with the timestamps. For those who don't know, a video with a timestamp means that there's chapters on the video and at the bottom of the screen and in the video description you can choose what portion of the video you want to click ahead to. But I don't have like a clear plan. Honestly, this is like, hey, I'm leaving town in 2 days and I wanted to get a video out and I have a whole bunch of stuff I'm excited to talk about, and I didn't make like a detailed plan of here's what we're going to talk about today. I just want to, I know my audience likes to hear from me from time to time. I don't think I've done a live stream in a while, and I'm due for a live stream, and this is stuff I want to talk about. So I want to talk next about SpaceX. So Starship is due to launch June 5th, and this is my Japan trip. Like June 5th, I arrive and Starship launches hopefully that day or the next day. And then June 13th, while I'm still in Japan, we have the shareholder vote. And who knows what else is going to happen while I'm traveling. I'm going to be in Seoul, South Korea after that. So having fun for showing my girlfriend Japan. But I'll definitely make time to watch what I can watch. I'll be meeting with some Tesla owners, Tesla fans in Tokyo in the first 5 days that I'm there. We don't have a date for that yet. So if you are in Japan and you want to meet up, then send me an email, wredlick@gmail.com. We can try to set something up. Is SpaceX still on track for meeting NASA's moon mission? I don't know about the timing. Starship is launching on June 5th. We'll see how it does. I mean, if they are able to do a soft water landing of the booster, which they've made progress. Every launch has gotten better. So better for this mission would be the super heavy booster should probably stick a landing in the water. It should make a nice smooth soft water landing in the water. That I think is fairly likely to happen. And then will the Starship survive reentry? This appears to be the biggest hurdle is can they get Starship to reliably re-enter the atmosphere and not blow up? This is a huge challenge. The reason why the center booster of Falcon Heavy is not recovered is because it's too hard for it to re-enter the atmosphere at its velocity, and it's going a lot slower than Starship's going to be going. And there's just all this energy to dissipate when you're entering the atmosphere. You're getting all this friction, which helps you slow down and helps you re-enter the atmosphere, but it generates a lot of heat. So they're developing heat shield tiles to try to, control Starship so it can re-enter without blowing up. So are they able, if Starship re-enters the atmosphere, and I don't know if they're going to try to do a soft water landing on this launch. I think they're just going to try to bring it down and let it hit hard. But if they're able to bring it in and it survives re-entry and they're able to get signal, then I think they're ready for the next launch to try to do a soft water landing of Starship, of the second stage that's coming back from orbit. And they're probably going to start launching Starlink satellites. Um, the full, V2 Starlink satellites will probably start getting test launched before the end of this year. It's got this launch coming in June. I think they're probably going to try to accelerate the pace of launches. So the next launch might be, say, August, probably September, but maybe August. Maybe they get 2 or 3 more launches in before the end of the year and they start sticking the landing of the booster consistently. Maybe they even try to land on the chopsticks at Starbase, see if they can stick a landing there. And maybe they're able to make a soft water landing of the second stage. And they're probably not going to try an actual recovering landing of the second stage this year, but it probably happens next year. And then, this leads us into Starlink, right? So that, the SpaceX getting Starship up and operational and successful is a big deal. That makes a big deal for the future of getting to getting the moon, getting to Mars. And the moon is not the primary mission. Mars is the primary mission. So in-orbit refueling is going to be a huge milestone, but in-orbit refueling is going to be a lot easier than the heat shield tile problem. I believe that in-orbit refueling is required for a moon mission. Yes, I think the delta V you need to get. I think if you weren't coming back from the moon, it might not be required. But if you want to come back from the moon, it's a challenge. I don't know if the moon is really practice for Mars. I think anything you do is practice, but I don't know that getting to the moon is a higher priority than getting to Mars. And we'll see. I don't know how reliable NASA funding is going to be. Got an election coming up. Maybe we just don't know. But what we do know is that Starlink is growing. I think they said they're up to 3 million customers in Starlink already. And the Starlink market is potentially, I think, 300 million customers. So there's a lot of room to grow. And once Starship is launching Starlink satellites and recovering the booster and the second stage, the cost of launching Starlink satellites becomes really, really small. And so SpaceX is able to launch a high volume of Starlink satellites that are larger, more capable than the current Starlink satellites. And Starlink starts printing money. And my guess is we're gonna, once they get that reliably down, and that by the end of next year, I think we might see a Starlink IPO. I think Starlink IPO will be valued at $200 billion or more. And Elon owning 50% of SpaceX means that will add $100 billion to his net worth on top. And that it may reduce SpaceX's valuation, but at the same time, SpaceX has now become the clear, like already the dominant leader in launch, but now it's the overwhelming leader in launch. And so it just becomes a game changer in so many different ways. I'm really, really excited. At some point, they can start bringing down Starlink subscription price. So as I understand it, Starlink, no, can the public make to have Judge McCormick repay or compensation for prior years? No, we can't. I know people are angry at Judge McCormick, and I'm angry at Judge McCormick, but there's no legal remedy for that. Jupiter James asked, does Starlink have a way of decommissioning older satellites? Yes. No, the satellites have their own propulsion, and they are, number one, they're in low enough orbits that their orbit will decay naturally. But they can accelerate their decay, and that once they orbit decays and they hit the atmosphere, they burn up on reentry. So Starlinks are in such a low orbit that there's no Kessler syndrome issue because anything in that orbit falls out of orbit within months to a year or two. It doesn't stay in orbit for 20 years or 50 years like some of the other orbits. And they have engines, and then I believe that Starship ultimately will be used to either recover or take satellites out of orbit that are a problem, or they will work with Impulse Space. Tom Mueller's startup. Tom Mueller was the chief engineer or chief rocket engineer aside from Elon, for SpaceX for 18 years, or worked for SpaceX for 18 years as chief rocket engineer for maybe 14 of them. And he has a startup called Impulse Space, and I believe that may be a mission he's pursuing. He just was interviewed by Ellie in Space. Please check out the Ellie in Space channel on YouTube or on X and look for her video where she interviewed Tom Mueller. There were 2 parts. It was really good. So what might the IPO price be? I don't know what the dollar share price would be, because I don't know how many shares it would be, but I'm expecting a valuation of $100 to $200 billion because I think long-term Starlink is $1 trillion company. You're talking about, 100 million customers at $1,000 a year is $100 billion in revenue. I think their margins might be close to 90% once they're up and running. And so you're talking about $90 billion a year in gross profit with a, maybe $60 billion a year in net profit with a 20 PE ratio. You're over $1 trillion. Um, I don't think it's about, yeah, I don't think we need to worry about solving the Delaware judge problem. We need to worry about the shareholder vote problem. If the shareholders vote yes this time, I think she's very unlikely to overturn that. And that ends up being the game changer for everything. Deorbit with giant slingshot. No, I don't think a giant slingshot is the answer. Asteroid 2020, for giant asteroid 2024, is that the solution to the problem? So yeah, I have no idea how many shares would be issued, so I don't know what the share price would be. I expect it to be like 20% of the stock of Starlink would be offered as an IPO. Maybe 10% of the stock, and then SpaceX shareholders would sell another 10%, so you'd have 20%. So you'd be limiting the amount of equity available, and that might increase the price. When am I doing more collabs? No plans for collaborations with Alien Space. I don't think that's likely to happen. I haven't been doing a lot of collaborations, period. My next collaborations are gonna be with my girlfriend doing the Bikini Nomad channel on YouTube and X. Will Tesla still appeal if the vote goes against Elon? I think Tesla will probably appeal, but I think the results of the appeal would be from, let's say, the shareholder votes June 13th. I think that the lower court case will be final in August or September, and the result of an appeal would be like September of next year at the earliest. And that's too late. I don't think Elon's going to wait that long to make a decision. I think Elon leaves before. I think Elon leaves quickly after a no vote. That's an opinion, and other people think that he won't leave. Um, so I think we're seeing great stuff with Starlink. We're seeing great stuff with SpaceX. Let's not forget Falcon 9 has been really killing it. I think they had a record number of launches this past month. 14. I think they had 14 successful launches in 1 month. So that's really good news. Jupiter James asked, I love that name, Jupiter James. Is SpaceX working on space Mars habitat technology? So much progress is made on rockets, but how will they build the first habitats? Um, my understanding is that they have had or have regular meetings on what a Mars colony is going to be like at SpaceX. Maybe once a month, people get together and they talk about this stuff, and there may be research teams working on different aspects of what's going to happen on Mars. I don't know how much they're working on that yet because actually getting onto Mars is down the road. But I think building structures, simple structures, and then covering the roof with Martian soil will protect them from radiation. So I think that's a pretty straightforward plan. And Elon has definitely said they would cover the roof with Martian regolith. I think long term, they're probably going to use Boring Company tunnel machines to build tunnels on Mars. And I have a video about that where I got some math wrong, but I think that if you did a loop tunnel on Mars and you had it going at the right speed, you would be able to create artificial gravity. So you would sleep in Earth gravity and you would spend maybe another 8 hours a day in the tunnel in Earth gravity, and you would go out on the Martian surface 8 hours a day. So you would retain your Earth strength while you're in Martian gravity. And when you return to Earth, you won't have lost that much strength. That's my theory. And then if you want to have children, you probably want to have children. You probably want to go through the pregnancy or critical moments of the pregnancy in Earth gravity. So you're going to need a solution to that because we don't know what low gravity is going to do to the fertilization and gestation process. Did Elon say Tesla shareholders would get first crack at a Starlink IPO? I think he said it, but I don't know if that he can pull that off, and I don't know that that's a priority. What is my expectation on the plaintiff law firm's payment? I expect that the judge will award the plaintiff law firm more than $1 billion, maybe $5 billion. I think they wanted to be paid in shares. I don't know if the judge will do that. It seemed odd that they would want to be paid in shares. That would be another reason for Elon to leave the company and let the stock price fall, is if the plaintiffs got paid in Tesla stock, then Elon leaves the company and the stock falls 66%. Let them get screwed. They should get paid in options, really. Get paid in options. Let's see how that goes. But I think if the shareholder vote is yes, then the problem for the plaintiff's law firm is they're going to claim that they earned the shareholders a certain amount of money by, let's say, saving them $55 billion on the stock that Elon, or the stock options that Elon's going to be awarded. And that's not really a fair valuation of the stock options, but let's suppose it was worth $55 billion and they get 10%, that'd be $5.5 billion. But if the shareholders vote yes again, and the judge is going to approve the compensation package, then this plaintiff's law firm didn't save the shareholders any money at all. And then what would they be compensated? They would be compensated, some hourly rate. How is Thailand weather compared to Florida right now? Thailand is generally, I would say, well, I'm in Bangkok. I would say Bangkok is generally hotter than Florida and about as humid. Um, we do have a rainy season. I think we're technically in rainy season now or just started. But Thailand is a big country, so you go south, believe it or not, it gets cooler, even though you're going closer to the equator. And the air gets better, get a better air quality. So place like Chumpon, Chumphon, or Hat Yai, Hatyai, and Songkhla, Songkhla, are pretty nice places. I personally don't mind the weather. It's hot and I don't care. Maybe I take an extra shower a day. Maybe not. I go to the gym and take a shower after the gym anyway, right? So Thailand weather, I think it's great. If you like snow and ice, it's terrible. If you like warm and sunny and or cloudy and rainy occasionally, then Thailand's fantastic. So yeah, I think we should be excited about what's happening with Falcon 9. We're seeing continued improvement with Falcon 9. We can expect that as Starship starts hitting volume sometime in 2026 or 2027, we will see even greater volume than what we're seeing from Falcon 9. And Falcon 9 will look trivial compared to what Starship ends up doing. Starship is going to be a game changer for humanity. This is like the big transition. You got to transition to sustainable energy with Tesla. You got to transition to a spacefaring civilization with Starship. It's just going to be mind blowing. Okay, so then the next thing I wanted to talk about was Neuralink. I'm still like crazy excited about Neuralink. We have the first human patient, Nolan Arbaugh, known as Modded Quad on X, MODDEDQUAD on the X platform, and encourage you to follow him. Very excited for him. I think he's making great progress. He's a hero. Here, not all heroes wear capes. In this case, the hero wears a wheelchair. And we know that they've reached out and they're trying to recruit the second and third patients for the Neuralink trial to do this again. We know that they learned something from the threads retracting in Nolan's brain, that it was operated differently than they've seen in monkey brains and pig brains. So they're going to have to make some changes to the technology, but I'm sure they're on top of that. And they were able to compensate for that change in software and still improve results. There were initially a fall off in results, but ended up being an improvement. And we know that they can, they with Pager the monkey, they were able to replace the first chip with an upgraded chip, and that went well. So if there's a problem with Nolan's chip and implant, they have to remove it. They can install a new one. So that's exciting. But I think Neuralink will possibly be worth more than Tesla and SpaceX combined. I think it may be Elon's most valuable company. I see a future where 100 million people a year are getting Neuralinks at $10,000 a pop, and that's $1 trillion a year in revenue. And then people upgrade every 3 years, just like they do with their iPhone. And then there's an app store to get software for your Neuralink. I just think that the potential for Neuralink is off the charts. At a trillion, you're probably talking about, trillions of dollars of revenue a year, probably pretty good margins. The app store will have insane margins. I think you might be talking about a $50 trillion company in Neuralink, and that not necessarily bigger than Tesla, depending on if all goes well with Tesla, but it's pretty huge. Yeah, Nolan's done some interviews. They've been fantastic. I have this fantasy that I don't think is that much of a fantasy, that Tesla will equip a Tesla car so that Nolan can drive it, so that Nolan can sit in the front seat of, let's say, a Model X. And I don't know how they position him with his paralysis to be able to sit comfortably in a Model X, but he might be able to actually drive and Model X, because then it's easy to put like whatever equipment you need in the back, because of the Falcon Wing doors and everything, get the wheelchairs in or whatever. But I could see Nolan Arbaugh ending up being able to drive a Model X himself with his mind, and I want to see that happen. And I also see, like, if you're doing a future world of robo-taxis and you need remote operators, well, why not have Nolan be a remote operator? Would Nolan be able to control a Tesla car with his mind from a distance? I don't see why not. I think he'd probably be ultimately better at it than a human with hands and a mouse or a joystick or a steering wheel, whatever. Chris asks, when do I expect asteroid mining? I don't think asteroid mining is as exciting as other people think it is. I think fundamentally, if you want, minerals on Earth are going to be less expensive and easier to get than minerals in space. anything that's mined in space will probably be used in space rather than on Earth. The need for whatever minerals you mine will be greater in space, and the cost savings by delivering minerals from the asteroid to, let's say, Mars, or, and when I say space, I mean I'm including on the Martian surface or the lunar surface. The value of that mining will probably be more for use in space than for on Earth. When Neuralink gets up to speed, it can correct quads in hours with no muscle degradation injury cases. We'll see. I am very hopeful that Neuralink will ultimately be followed with a shunt, and we saw them demonstrated at a Neuralink presentation that they had a Neuralink in the spine of a pig, and it was able to control a pig's leg. That you will see the Neuralink in the brain connect to a Neuralink below the spinal cord break, and people will get restored ability to walk and move their arms and so on. And I think that will be off the charts. And I think I will say this: I am often critical of the media, and I've probably never been, shouldn't say disappointed, but like more disgusted with the media than how they've covered Nolan Arbaugh. I think that if a Democrat politician was able to claim credit for Nolan Arbaugh getting to be able to gain control of a computer, the improvement in his life, then the media would be raving about it endlessly. But the fact that Elon did it, Elon man bad, the only news you get is, oh, the thread's retracted, and they know 13th paragraph of the article, DJCL from Neuralink says, yeah, we were able to correct that in software. But the headline is like always, it's always negative. No matter what Elon does, everything is negative. Elon could fucking cure cancer and they would find a way to make it negative. I just, you know, anybody who's paralyzed sees what an amazing thing he's doing. It's amazing that they're shitting on him like this. Shaka Zulo Man, please email me, wredlick@gmail.com. If you are verified on X, send me a DM. That's better than email. WR4NYGov. I know prom. I would rather meet in Terminal 21. I'm on the blue line, so Terminal 21 Asok is better than Prom Pong for me. But I did stay in Prom Pong not that long ago. Happy to meet up. Or come up to Bangsu. Take the blue line yourself. Come on up. We'll have coffee here in Bangsu, and I'll show you a part of Thailand, a part of Bangkok you probably haven't seen. Um, Here, we'll do the customary. There's my view. Nice Bangsu. I don't know how that looked. 36th floor, nice view of the Chao Phraya River here. So, xAI. Okay. Big pharma outrage. Elon cures cancer. Pharma stocks fall. Elon's fault. Government workers' pensions fall because of pharma stock decline. Elon at fault. Oh, thank you, Will Cincy. Really appreciate your vote. So xAI, there's this thing with Tesla with my concern about Elon leaving. Tesla is working on developing real world AI, and xAI was formed to develop AI. I think xAI was not formed to develop real world AI, but it goes along with what they are doing. And it makes sense for Elon to be uncomfortable developing artificial intelligence that might become AGI and, an existential threat to humanity in a company that he doesn't control, as opposed to a company he does control like xAI. So I think that Elon has an incentive to stop developing AI within Tesla. And if he leaves Tesla, then I think the AI team leaves, and then Tesla is no longer developing AI, and the problem becomes irrelevant. And then you see xAI, and I believe xAI. This is one of those things people haven't figured out yet, but I think it's pretty obvious. If you look at there's a post or a blog post from xAI. If you look at the blog post, it appears they have access to the cameras in Tesla cars. They have access to Tesla's real world AI data. So and that's probably a partnership where they're going to put Grok in Tesla cars. It's typical for Elon's companies to cooperate across lines. Will, since he says I have another account that I'm still undecided about, what are you undecided about? Do you want Tesla stock to fall? Do you think that Elon didn't earn the compensation from the 2018 package when he did what he did? He met all the standards of I think that there was somebody earlier in the chat who said he voted yes on his shares from 2000 before 2021, but he didn't vote. He voted no on his shares from 2022 to 2024, and it's like, well, the compensation package for his work from 2018 to 2022, basically, where he achieved all the targets. The stuff that happened afterwards um, would be for the next compensation package, not this compensation package. Shareholders made a deal with Elon. A judge undid the deal unjustly. And here's the ultimate question: you hold Tesla stock. Do you want your stock to go up or down? Do you think that Elon leaving the company would increase the value of your shares or decrease the value of your shares? If you vote no and shareholders vote no, and you end up with a no vote, doesn't that increase the likelihood that Elon leaves the company? Yes, it increases the likelihood that Elon leaves the company. And that increases the likelihood that the AI team leaves the company. And if the AI team leaves the company, then Tesla is no longer an AI and robotics company. And this future that I talk about on this channel of Tesla going to $1,000 a share, $2,000 a share, $5,000 a share, $10,000 a share, that future is dependent on AI and robotics. That future does not come with just selling electric vehicles and battery packs, right? And energy storage devices. That's not going to deliver you a multi-trillion-dollar market cap. In order for that to happen, we need AI and robotics. It's the robotaxi network and Optimus that deliver the value. But if Elon is voted no, if you get a no vote and Elon leaves the company, then you're losing robotaxi and Optimus. You're probably losing robotaxi, and you're certainly losing Optimus because the engineers have places to go. They have companies that want to hire them, that are pursuing the mission that they want to pursue, or pursuing missions that they want to pursue, that will pay them more than Tesla pays them and give them a lot of opportunities to get equity that Tesla can't give them. You're going to lose the AI team. So even if you hold shares from 2022 to 2024 that you require, do you want your stock to go up or not? You want your stock to go down or up? Mustafa says this is one of those beautiful things. If Elon leaves, AI team members will be happier. The AI team members can leave anytime they want. There's other companies that are offering them more money to do interesting work. They're staying because they believe in Elon. I mean, you have to have your head up your ass to think that the engineers aren't. The AI engineers can go anywhere. They have the best AI engineers are probably getting $1 million a year offers or more to go somewhere else. Has Elon been talking to Trump about being an advisor? Was that a fake rumor? Elon denied it. I don't know. And he said before, nobody talks to Trump. Trump talks to people. He doesn't listen. He said he had a conversation with Trump once, and Trump just kept talking, and he never listens. So that was Elon's experience. Elon was on an advisory board in the first Trump administration and left. I don't know why people believe this nonsense. That was a rumor that was pushed by the liberal media in order to try to suppress the vote for Elon in this shareholder vote. If Elon leaves, so Mitchell says, I can't understand funds, institutional investors voting against the interests of their clients. Well, imagine you're an institutional investor. Let's say you're Vanguard and you've got 1% of your investment is in Tesla, but you also own stock in big oil and you own stock in big auto. Like even if Tesla falters, maybe your other stocks go up. I'm not sure that voting against that hurting Tesla hurts the big institutional investors and their clients as much as you think. Do I think this vote could be rigged? No, I don't think the vote is rigged. When do you think Elon will build the 1 by 1 mile solar farm with batteries to power the US? I don't think Elon is going to build that. I think that Tesla will deploy significant solar, and I think they will deploy a lot of solar to power their own AI supercomputing clusters. I do think that that's likely to happen, but I don't think they're going to power the entire US. I think this is something that's underappreciated. Local governments are a big impediment. Local and state governments are a big impediment to the large-scale deployment of solar in the United States, because utilities don't really want to go full-on solar, and utility companies want to own the solar farms. So you don't see a lot of private solar farms. I don't know about other states. In Florida, you don't see any private solar farms. They're only utility-run solar farms. Elon should stay away from Trump, but he'll lose anyway. I don't think Elon's gotten close to Trump. If Tesla buys xAI, wouldn't Elon's ownership of Tesla increase significantly? I think you got that backwards, and I don't think Tesla can buy xAI. I don't think Tesla can buy xAI because, not that they can't, it would be troublesome. And, Elon doesn't want xAI, he likes having privately held companies. Why would he want Tesla to buy it? And then you have this problem of, this is where fiduciary duty comes in. People raise fiduciary duty issues all the time. when Tesla bought Solar City, there was a lawsuit over whether it was a breach of fiduciary duty because it was perceived as a conflict of interest for Elon because he owned a substantial stake in Solar City. Well, he owns a bigger stake in xAI, so there would almost certainly be lawsuits that would follow that. I'd be nice. Shares will go up when Elon leaves. So Mustafa, I'm guessing Mustafa is trolling the space, but leave him in trolling the chat, but leave him in the chat. Mustafa, I'm just curious, like, why would you think shares would go up if Elon left? What drives? And let's talk about this for a second. What drives the valuation of Tesla stock? Okay, Tesla makes 2 million cars a year. They have about $100 billion a year in revenue. Maybe 10% of that is from other than cars. And it's not growing very fast, right? It was growing fast. It's not growing very fast anymore. And Elon leaving is not going to make the company grow faster. The Tesla stock is as high it is because some investors like me have an expectation that Tesla will solve FSD, solve Optimus, and bring us towards a future of AI and robotics that makes the company much, much higher revenue. Like I see Robotaxi being $500 billion a year in gross profit, not revenue, but profit, right? Versus $20 billion in gross profit in 2022. That's a 25x. What's Mustafa's story about? What's the fundamental? What's the positive and fundamentals for Tesla if Elon leaves? How does and this is the thing? Like this is what happens with trolls and chats, right? And please, moderators, if there's a moderator here, let Mustafa comment. But what's your vision for Tesla without Elon? How does Tesla become $1 trillion, $2 trillion, $5 trillion company if Elon leaves? Why is it worth $600 billion if Elon leaves? I don't think you have an answer for this. Jupiter James says, devil's advocate for a no vote, $55 billion comp package is now added to Tesla market cap. The adults on the room take on a leadership role. I don't get what you mean by that. $55 billion comp package is not really $55 billion. It is options that if they were shares, and they aren't, would be worth $55 billion. If Elon exercises the options, if and when he exercises the options, he actually has to pay Tesla like $7 billion, right? Elon has to pay Tesla. So Tesla actually gets more cash from this because Elon has to pay them cash. Jupiter James says, where can we get unfiltered political commentary from you? Would love to hear your view on controversial topics. WR4NYGov. I'm on the X platform all the time. So I see Mustafa's gotten quiet because he doesn't actually have an answer to the question of why the shares go up. What's positive about, will the shares go up briefly if Elon leaves? Sure, but long term they'll fall. When do I think X will add an X? So X is the former Twitter platform. When do I think X will add an Amazon, YouTube, and PayPal clone? I think X is already a video platform. It needs a lot of work to become better. I believe that they will add some sort of shopping feature. I think you're going to see like a YouTube style or something along the lines of a YouTube video homepage soon. I'm hoping, because I would much prefer it to YouTube. Getting tired of YouTube myself as a user. It's just the algorithm is not really recommending me interesting videos anymore. It's like recommending the same stuff I've already seen, and like, okay, I know I've been watching that stuff, but give me something else. And the content isn't as current as I would like. Shopping, I think they've said they're pursuing that. Payments, they're pursuing that. My guess is that by the end of 2026, all of that will be on X, and maybe a lot sooner. I'd be nice. Devil's that. So it's not that there's no future for Tesla without Elon. It's that the future for Tesla is they become a simple car maker, a good car maker that makes maybe 5 million cars a year and makes energy products, and that market will grow, and they will be successful, and ultimately that becomes a $100 billion company, not a $500 billion company, not a $1 trillion company. Chris E says Elon pays Tesla and also has to pay income taxes when he cashes stock to pay Tesla. All true. And James Stevenson did a video about this recently. James Stevenson, I would encourage you to follow him if you don't already. Bo McGillicuddy says safety says Model Y. So yeah, again, I'm planning on buying probably a Tesla Model Y standard range for Thailand, maybe in August, once I get back from my travels. And then, sorry for people who are new to the today's live stream. I'm going to Japan in a couple of days. We'll be traveling for about 2.5 weeks. My video output has been low anyway, but will probably be lower for the next 2.5 weeks. And we may work on the Bikini Nomad channel while we're in Japan. Probably not in South Korea, but in Japan. We're going to be in Miyazaki, Japan for part of it, and I think it's a good place to work on Bikini Nomad. Michael Mahoney says, "How do shares go up if Elon leaves?" So I think that the Wall Street types, if Elon man bad syndrome is widespread enough, then Wall Streeters who are behind institutional investors and so on, who consume a lot of mainstream media and believe that Elon is a problem, they might actually buy more stock than I sell. Um, Yvonne Choi says you sold 20% of Tesla and you bought more later. No, I've been accumulating shares of Tesla since 2016 through 2023. I don't think I bought any in 2024, and I sold 20% recently in anticipation of the shareholder vote as a to minimize to reduce my risk as being an all-in investor. That I think there's a significant risk of a no vote, and I want to have some money off the table in a no vote because I think the stock might crash after that. I have not bought more since I sold. I expect to buy back in on June 14th or so if the shareholder vote is yes. Um, do anti-monopoly laws prevent the creation of super apps like WeChat? Does this pose a hurdle for X? I don't think that antitrust laws necessarily prevent the creation of super apps. I think long term, a lot of Elon's companies may face threats from governments of, hey, you're too big, whether it's under an anti-monopoly law or some other law. And I expect that Elon's companies will break themselves up over time. But I think X is a long way from being that big and that influential. Meta is much bigger, Google is much bigger. So I don't see X being a particular threat to governments in that way. Now, it's a threat to governments in the fact that it supports free speech. Have I heard about a lawsuit investigation alleging insider trading by Elon regarding stock sales in late 2022? That was news that just broke, and I don't have enough information to comment on it, and I doubt that that's going to be a successful lawsuit. Didn't Elon break the record on highest annual income tax paid? I believe he did, and he will do it again. Elon necesita dinero. That's Spanish for does Elon need money? I don't think Elon needs cash. Are there any other stocks you are interested in buying outside of Tesla? If the shareholder vote is no, I will start looking at stocks that I will consider buying. Nvidia is high on the list. I do have some concerns about Nvidia, but I have not really researched other stocks. I've researched other stocks. I've researched Aptterra, for example. I've researched Palantir. I've researched Lemonade and all these stocks that other people have said, hey, you should check out the stock. I've looked at 5 or 10 different stocks and I haven't been persuaded by any of them. The strongest cases for Nvidia, and I will take another look after the Tesla shareholder vote. Do I have the most current status regarding what percent of support Elon's package in Tesla moved to Texas? I don't know what you mean by percent support. We don't know how the vote's gone yet. I don't think we will know that until June 13th. My prediction, if I were to make a prediction, is that Elon's compensation package will get a yes vote and the Tesla move to Texas will get a no vote. I think there's a risk that too many shareholders just won't vote, and that those no votes will prevent the move to Texas because they're counted. Those non-votes will be counted as no votes. Do I think Elon will add a search engine when Grok goes up? I don't think search engine's relevant anymore. I mean, I've already started using Grok and ChatGPT over Google more and more. I'm using Google less and less and less. I think Google is going to get clobbered. Um, Mitchell says Nvidia is the ship that has sailed. So I don't think the ship has sailed with Nvidia. I think my concern is the stock is up a lot. My concern is I think there's a lot of room for Nvidia to grow. I think that the market size, that the total addressable market for Nvidia's hardware is, I don't want to say infinite, but close to infinite. They have a big lead. They have good moats. My concern is that constraints on energy, on electricity infrastructure and electricity generation might limit the potential growth of AI data centers in the next 2 years, 3 years. And that constraint may be around for a while, and that may limit their ability to sell chips. That's a guess. I mean, right now there doesn't seem to be a limit, but I think that limit is coming fast. I've seen Sam Altman and Mark Zuckerberg and Elon talking about this electricity infrastructure problem. And Elon talks about the electricity generation problem. 14.4 says, well, Aptterra has their latest investor webinar coming next week. Should be fun to hear their newest promises. I love this. So Aptterra, friends don't let friends read Electrek, but I did read an Electrek article, and Fred from Electrek referred to Aptterra as a veteran startup. I don't think I've heard a better insult of a startup than a veteran startup. He didn't intend it as an insult, but if you think about it, a veteran startup means you haven't moved past the startups phase, and they've been in the startup phase for a very long time. Tesla fan says, would you ideally prefer Elon stay out of politics, or do you like him voicing his opinions that seem more favorable to Trump? I don't think Elon likes Trump. I like Elon voicing his opinions. I agree with him on most of his opinions. I disagree with him on some. I think that I would like it if more people, more successful people, would voice their opinions more and be less afraid of social criticism for what they say. I think Mark Cuban has been saying more, and even though I disagree with him on some of what he's saying, I applaud him for saying it. I think that the All In Pod guys are speaking out, and I think we need more people speaking out and getting more opinion. The people who are in power don't like the politicians don't like wealthy people, influential people voicing opinions that are contrary to what they say. Mustafa says he should perfect full self-driving technology and develop smaller cars before moving on to robo-taxis. Stepping down as CEO might be a better option due to his current lack of focus. So Mustafa, you didn't answer the question. You didn't answer the question. See, Mustafa said that the stock would rise if Elon left the company. Mustafa, what is the long-term value that Tesla, what is the long-term business model for Tesla if Elon leaves the company? Saying he should perfect full self-driving technology before moving on to robotaxis, they are perfecting they're not improving, they're improving full self-driving technology, which will probably never be perfect, but they are improving full self-driving technology. They can't deploy robotaxis without developing this is the comedy of having a troll in the chat, is they say incredibly stupid stuff. Stepping down as CEO might be a better option due to his lack of focus. No, leaving the company. He would leave the company and move on to his other companies. xAI needs his attention, Neuralink needs his attention, and SpaceX needs his attention. X needs his attention to some extent. Boring Company probably doesn't need his attention. Maybe he's got another company he wants to start. He's not going to develop artificial general intelligence in a company that votes no on him. I don't think Nvidia is going to disappoint the street. I think they're actually engineering their results so that they constantly overperform estimates. That's according to my friend AJ. ALOJOH on the X platform. If more vote against moving to Texas, what should be the next step for Teslas to continue to pursue? I think the move to Texas is important, but it's not as important. Doesn't Tesla's acquisition of Solar City manufactures solar panels? I don't know the extent to which Tesla manufactures its own solar panels. I believe they buy solar cells from China and make panels from them, and they make Tesla roof product from them. I think that the high interest rates inhibit the deployment of solar because customers don't want to buy solar when interest rates are high. Do you know if Tesla gets data on votes as soon as shareholders vote? If not, when do they know vote tally? I think that they know now. I think that they already know what's going to happen. I think they already have a really good idea, but I don't know for sure. I think they know before the final vote is cast, but I don't know how they know or when they know. And I don't know that for sure. Yvonne says, I think Mustafa is an anti-Elon. Of course he is. He's a troll. Nvidia Blackwell uses 25% less power per calculation. Not sure shortages of electricity is real. No, the demand for these, first of all, I'm not sure that that's true. And I don't know that it matters per calculation. If you roll out a whole bunch more chips and you're consuming more energy, more and more energy, we are at a state now where I believe that AI data centers are 1% of US energy consumption. And in about 5 years, it's going to be 50% of US energy consumption, if not faster. I just don't, and Zuckerberg and Altman and Elon have all talked about this, but Zuckerberg and Altman in particular, that there's sort of a limit on how big they can build a data center in terms of power, that they're, once they get to 100 megawatts, they can't go bigger, and they want to build bigger data centers and they just can't. If Sam Altman is Tesla's CEO, will it help Tesla in the wrong? Sam Altman is not going to be Tesla's CEO. He wouldn't want the job, and we wouldn't want him in the job. Elon needs to be continued as CEO of Tesla, but I feel they need a president like Gwynne Shotwell, SpaceX. Why? Tesla's running great. The problems that you're seeing with Tesla, the not achieving the growth that you want, is a result of macroeconomic problems, high interest rates, and weak demand in general, and it's hitting all companies. I don't know why you guys think that there's this story out there that somehow this is Elon's fault. Elon is very deeply involved in Tesla. And the funny thing is people say, oh, Elon's distracted. And then Elon lays off the charging infrastructure team. And all of a sudden, the problem isn't that he's distracted. The problem is that Elon did something that you don't like. Like, make up your mind. You want him active in the company or not? When when he is obviously active in the company by getting rid of the charging infrastructure team, all of a sudden you don't like him being active and you want him to be distracted? Like, make up your mind what you want. And I would encourage people, watch the video. I did a video recently. Please, if you haven't watched this video, I think it's one of the best videos I've done recently. An interview with Andre Karpathy. And I did a video about the interview with Andre Karpathy. Go ahead and watch the original video as well. I think he was interviewed at Stanford. And Gwen Shotwell was interviewed. I did a video with her. And in both of those videos, you catch hints of what is special about Elon running a company. And Karpathy in particular talks about Elon just has a hammer. And he's talking to people. He's trying to understand what problems the team is having. And, oh, we don't have enough chips for what we want to do. So Elon calls the head of the GPU cluster and says, hey, I want you to double the cluster. And the head of the GPU cluster says, well, we can't get enough chips from Nvidia. And Elon says, okay, I'll call Jensen. And Karpathy's giggling because I'll call Jensen. It's like inconceivable to like a regular engineer. But Elon can call anyone and say, hey, this is what I need. And Jensen's like, sure, Elon, whatever you want. Right? You know, Elon, or if Zuckerberg or Elon calls Jensen Huang and says, hey, I need 100,000 chips. Jensen's like, all right, you're at the top of the list. Here you go. And Elon says great things about Nvidia while they're developing Dojo to basically help them have more compute and deal with the potential constraints of not having sufficient compute. Elon says Nvidia is doing great work. He talks up Nvidia. AI will solve the containment of fission, leaving the cheap unlimited power, of course. I think you mean fusion. How long do you think Tesla will keep the 1% finance rate on new car purchases? I think they are testing low finance rates on some. I don't know if it's on all the cars they sell or just some of the cars they sell. I think it's a test to see whether it increases sales. Tesla is constantly experimenting with, they're now experimenting with advertising. They're experimenting with pricing. They're trying to see what can we do to move cars better. And this is just part of the process of running a company, and they're doing it well. Thank you, Timothy West, and thank you, Chris. Is it Fashol? I don't know how to pronounce Facciol. You probably get that a lot. But thank you both for your kind words. Mitridate says 25x less energy. Yeah, it's less energy. First of all, I don't know whether that's accurate. What the hell was that? I just got a beeping noise, and I'm like, my phone's on silent. Where did that come from? Type of, yeah, it was fusion. So yeah, there's a lot of talk. If you watch the All In pod, I think Chamath has talked about this, and others have talked. Maybe it's Friedberg has talked about this. It may be that we're getting closer to a solution to nuclear fusion. If we get to nuclear fusion, then energy becomes very cheap. It may be cheaper than solar. Elon's view is that solar is basically fusion. The sun does the fusion, radiates the energy to Earth. You just capture it in the solar panels, and that's cheap already. Any comment on USA chip fabs? I don't know enough about United States chip fabs. I do think we probably should stop. We should make sure we're peaceful with China so that we don't end up destroying our chip fabs, the chip fabs in Taiwan. When do I think Grok will take over Tesla customer service? I think that we will see Grok deployed in Teslas in various ways in the next years. I don't know about customer service. I don't know that that's necessary, frankly. I think people overestimate Tesla. There's this very popular, again, this is part of the Elon man bad syndrome and the FUD. There's this notion people have that Tesla has bad customer service. Well, Tesla has the highest brand loyalty of any car company. If the customer service is so bad, why is brand loyalty so high? They have the highest conquest rate. They have the highest referral rate of Tesla customers encouraging their friends to buy Teslas. If Tesla's customer service is so bad, why do these things happen? Maybe there are, and listen, you sell 2 million, but Tesla sells 2 million cars a year, right? If 1% of customers are unhappy, that's 20,000 customers complaining. And the media only needs one to tell the story. How do I think that Elon can manage to run Tesla X, SpaceX, Neuralink, and the Boring Company at the same time without being distracted? So, first of all, Boring Company runs itself. Neuralink largely runs itself. He has said before that he devotes probably 95, this is before X, he devotes like 90, he was devoting 95% of his attention to Tesla and SpaceX, and Neuralink and Boring Company were getting 1% and 5%. X took some time. I think right now X is running pretty well without Elon needing to do much to manage it. I think he hired Linda Yaccarino to be CEO, and Linda is a great person, and there's a lot of great people on the X team. Don't forget xAI. I think Elon is probably right now devoting time to xAI and Tesla and SpaceX, and he's probably going to need to devote more time to Neuralink. I think he's just really, really good at time management. Way better than me. Are you concerned about layoffs at Tesla reducing the company morale and loyalty? No. I mean, I think that layoffs are happening around the world. Nobody can, you have huge layoffs at some other companies, and there's no stories in the media about morale problems at Ford. I'm picking Ford out of a hat. I don't even know if they had layoffs. Toyota, whatever. Why is there all this concern about loyalty and morale at Tesla when there's no concern to these other companies? Okay, so Mustafa's back. This is the comedy troll in the chat. It's the engineers who matter, not the CEO. Look at OpenAI's success. Our top engineers willing to work with Elon. Why did Andrei Karpathy leave? Elon insists everyone come to the office, etc. Oh, this is just comedy. Yes, it's the engineers who matter. And it turns out that top engineering students at universities in America want to work at Tesla and SpaceX. Why do they want to work for Tesla and SpaceX? Because they want to work with Elon, because Elon's amazing to work for. Watch the videos. Watch what I said. Watch the video I did about Karpathy. Watch the video I did about Gwynne Shotwell. Gwynne Shotwell talked about how the way that she manages SpaceX, and I think the way that, and I think Karpathy indicated this to some extent about how Elon manages Tesla. The people who run the companies, their job is to get bullshit off of the engineers' desks so the engineers can focus on doing great work. Get the crappy paperwork and bureaucratic stuff out of the engineers' way so the engineers can focus on doing great things. Engineers want to work for Elon because they want to do great things. And some of them want to work for OpenAI. Sure, look at OpenAI's success. What is OpenAI's success? Grok is almost as good as ChatGPT. Anthropic's Claude Opus is as good as OpenAI's ChatGPT. Meta Llama is doing well. And Google looks like crap, but we'll see. What is OpenAI's success? Elon insists everyone come to the office. Yeah, well, that's a terrible thing. You're just comedy. Mustafa still hasn't answered the question. What's the Tesla business model when Elon leaves? He has no answer. I appreciate, just to be clear, there's a guy trolling the chat. His name was Mustafa Kamal, or the fake name that he's using is Mustafa Kamal. And I just find it comical that a guy will come in here and talk like he actually understands Tesla better than we do. Mark's in the chat. Chris is in the chat. There's all these people in the chat who've been following me and following Tesla for a long time, and some random troll comes along and thinks he understands Tesla better than we do. Didn't Tesla and SpaceX have over a million? So Chris E says, didn't Tesla and SpaceX have over 1 million job applications last year? I believe Tesla had like 5 or 6 million. Tesla alone had like 5 or 6 million job applications last year. Yeah, they're having real trouble finding people to come work for them. Working in Tesla is like trying to get in. It's harder than getting into an Ivy League university. Yeah, merch, the t-shirt, the Daily Light t-shirt, and other t-shirts at elonbits.com. Thank you, Mark. Mitridate says 25x from their brochure. Yeah, okay, their brochure says lots of nice things. So we're bouncing back to Nvidia for a second. I think Nvidia is a great company. I think that their hardware development's great. It doesn't change the fact that everyone who's paying attention knows that electricity infrastructure and electricity generation are bottlenecks for the development of AI hardware, for the growth of AI hardware and AI. The fact that Nvidia is making progress on it doesn't change that. People, if you solve the energy problem, people are just, if you reduce the energy consumption, people are just going to buy more chips, and you still have the energy problem. Thank you, Yvonne Choi. Yeah, please vote for the board recommendations if you are a Tesla shareholder. And Mark points out teslavote.com. Go to teslavote.com to vote your shares, or to find out how to vote your shares. I have Fidelity. I was able to vote my shares through Fidelity. I believe Vanguard allows voting. I know some Europeans and Australians are having trouble voting. Please follow Tesla Boomer Mama on X. I'm not a fan of hers, but she's doing good work on this subject. Please follow her. Mark says Boeing United Launch Alliance failed again. So let's talk about that. Starliner is the Boeing competitor to SpaceX's Crew Dragon. And SpaceX's Crew Dragon has been launching crewed launches to the International Space Station. Boeing United Launch Alliance has a rocket system that's called Starliner that is supposed to launch crew to the space station, and they scrubbed their launch. Was it this morning or last night? I mean, it's morning here for me. I know they scrubbed their launch recently in the last 24 hours. They're seeing lots of trouble with that. So, they are higher priced than Crew Dragon. They are, this is one of the striking things is I believe that SpaceX demonstrated multiple uncrewed launches to the International Space Station before doing a crewed launch. And I don't know if Starliner has done even one cargo launch to the space station. I'm a little fuzzy on that one. Has there been a unmanned Starliner launch to the space station? Mark, Do you know the answer to that question? Tesla fan says, I feel all airlines should upgrade to Starlink. I think many airlines are upgrading to Starlink. I think more will. It's probably not very expensive to provide basically low cost or free internet for people on flights with Starlink, and it makes your flights more attractive. Now, if you're on short haul flights, doesn't matter. When I'm flying, on a 2 hour, where did I fly? I flew to Phnom Penh, Cambodia from Bangkok. It was like an hour and a half flight or an hour flight. Doesn't really matter. I don't mind being off the internet for an hour. But if you're on a 6 hour flight to Tokyo, like coming up, I'd rather have Starlink. Fidelity doesn't allow to vote with index fund TSLL, unfortunately. That's not Fidelity, that's the fund itself. TSLL is probably voting its shares for Elon. TSLL is, I believe, that's like a fund that like leverages to own more Tesla stock or buys options or something. Yeah, cruise ships are all going to Starlink. Absolutely. So, Mark, can you explain a little bit more? Did Starliner do an uncrewed launch? Because I don't know. I can't believe astronauts are willing to get on this thing with that. So they did successfully get a cargo launch to the space station. Okay. Yvonne, I don't know how TSLL voted. I believe that it's a pro Elon. The people who run TSLL is an ETF that I believe lets people leverage and get a high. That it's more volatile because it goes up and down more than Tesla. So if Tesla goes up a lot, it goes up a lot more. But if Tesla goes down, it goes down more. I think they borrow money to buy more Tesla stock and then become more vulnerable to ups and downs. I don't know if they're doing it on margin, exactly how they do it. And so the people who own TSLL are almost certainly pro Elon. I would assume. Chris asked, "Did I see all the solar panel posts going up this week in Berlin parking lot?" No. So let's talk about xAI. xAI is Elon's new startup for AI. They just raised $6 billion. The fact that Elon is able to get venture capitalists to invest $6 billion into a startup, I think this is a record. His ability to raise funds and get a startup going and build, Elon is Renaissance man, whatever you want to call him. He is accomplishing more for humanity than anyone else. So, um, valve problems. It's always valve problems, Mark. They need ball bearings. The problem is the problem is it's always about ball bearings. It's all ball bearings these days. That's Chevy Chase and Fletch too, I think. Um, so xAI is working on Grok. Grok 1.5 is coming soon. I've been using ChatGPT. I have these extended conversations with ChatGPT about a variety of subjects. The biggest, longest running one is about my workout strategy. And I find that ChatGPT used to be great, very insightful, offered some really useful insights, to now it's just sort of like a sounding board. And it just generally sort of says, yeah, what you're doing sounds great. And I don't feel like I'm getting a lot of insight from it. I don't feel like it's adding value anymore. I tried having some of the same conversations with Grok and with Anthropic's Claude, not Opus, the earlier version, and I didn't find they were better. I think sometimes Grok is better, sometimes Anthropic's uh, Opus is better. I'm trying to decide whether I'm going to pay to upgrade to Opus. Um, it's only like $20 a month. So I'm probably going to pay to upgrade to Opus because I love playing with these AIs and having these extended conversations. I think it's great to have different AIs and have different conversations have the same conversation with different AIs and see if you get different results. And it's more like having a conversation with an AI chatbot can help you as a sounding board to talk through your ideas, and then sometimes they might have insights that you hadn't thought of. And I think having different AIs, it gives them the opportunity to correct each other. It gives you different insights. Um, Elon may rival Nikola Tesla for his contributions. Like Nikola, Elon was never recognized this time for the geniuses they were. I think Elon is more recognized today than Nikola Tesla ever was, and I think Elon has accomplished a lot more. Tesla had some brilliant ideas, but I don't know that how much he turned them into practical applications that generated revenue and profits. Elon takes brilliant ideas, works with brilliant engineers, and then produces products and services and gets customers to pay for them. That is a level up, a big level up. Elon firing the 500 supercharging team was the first time Elon intentionally sabotaged Tesla because his ego was hurt. This is from an account called NoobTube. So apparently we have another troll in the chat. Um, so this shows, number one, that you are just not educated. And I want to say this. This is an important thing. I've been saying this, and I don't know if I said this on the channel. If you're going to criticize Elon, or if you're a fan of Elon, do your homework. Read the Walter Isaacson biography. I read it in 2 days. I already knew the first half of the content already, but I read it. I read the second half where I learned a lot. You get insight into Elon as a person. Read the Wait But Why series. WAIT. I'm going to type this in the chat. Wait But Why. Google that. Find the Wait But Why series on Elon. It's like a 5-part long form blog post series by Tim Urban on Elon. Read the Liftoff book by Eric Berger about the early Falcon 1, the early days of SpaceX and Falcon 1 rocket. Watch interviews with Garrett Reisman on Joe Rogan. Watch the interviews with Jim Keller on Lex Friedman. Watch the interviews with Gwynne Shotwell. Watch interviews with Andre Karpathy. read about people and read from people who understand Elon, who know more about Elon than you do. Read or listen to what people have to say about working for Elon, working with Elon, and then tell me that you know something. So to say that Elon intentionally sabotaged Tesla by firing the supercharger team shows you really don't know what happened, and you're not familiar with demon mode. That part of Elon's management strategy is every once in a while you have to shake things up. People get too comfortable, and you have to do things to shake things up. You have to lay off 10% of the staff. You have to challenge people to do something, out of the box. Thank you, Yvonne Choi, for joining the chat and for watching the video. So, claiming this was about ego shows you know nothing about Elon. Elon is constantly trying to innovate. He's constantly trying to push the envelope, and you don't push the envelope by letting everybody relax and be comfortable. And it's very uncomfortable. It can be uncomfortable to work at Tesla because Elon pushes people hard, but you get great work done. Nikolai gave his work to George Westinghouse, AC induction motors. We still use Nikolai. I agree that Nikolai Tesla invented some really cool stuff, but he did not commercialize these things and himself. So I'm not trying to downplay Nikolai Tesla. I just think Elon's done more, and he did more with it himself, as opposed to handing it off to other people to get things done. Lenore Johnson says, please don't put out Elon. You don't know the man. Yeah, I mean, the key point is that people who don't pay attention think they know the man. Retire and go. Is that you, Paul? I'm hopeful the pay vote will be yes, but I'm protecting my investment. 50% Tesla sold and diversified into AMD, Microsoft, Amazon, Nvidia, and Apple. Thoughts, Warren? So I sold 20% of my Tesla stock, and I'm holding it in a money market fund. And I expect to sell that back into cash. And with the money market fund pays like 5%. Sell that back into cash, and on June 14th, if the vote is yes, buy back in. I don't feel comfortable investing in AMD, Microsoft, Amazon, Nvidia, and Apple. I think that AMD has some. I think all those companies have promise, but I think Tesla is much more likely to grow a lot faster than those companies. Nvidia is an amazing company, but has some potential limits. I'm surprised you didn't mention Google. It's kind of interesting that you didn't mention Google. I think Microsoft may be overly dependent on OpenAI at this point. I just think they're good companies that will probably grow, but they're not going to grow like Tesla if things go well. Do I think Waymo is close to Tesla for robotaxi? Not even close. No, there's no chance. Oh, Michelle says, where are you currently living? How long will you live there? So I'm a permanent resident of the state of Florida, Delray Beach, Florida. That's where my permanent residence is. I am currently staying in Bangkok as my base of nomad operations. I've leased this condo for a year, and we are traveling extensively, about to go on a 2.5-week trip. I expect for Bangkok to be my base of operations for nomad operations indefinitely and maybe long term. Did I cover Dear Moon? Thank you, Matt Burns, for bringing that up. And I can talk more about Bangkok if you want, Michelle. So Dear Moon was a proposed mission with a Japanese billionaire, Yusaka Miyazawa, something like that. That was supposed to launch 10 astronauts to go on a trip around the moon on Starship, and he decided to back away from the contract. As I understand what he said, the contract was that the trip was supposed to happen by the end of 2023. And there's a really good post by, I don't know if it was Eric Berger or was somebody that maybe Eric Berger posted a link to it, explaining that it now looks like the Dear Moon mission wouldn't happen until the 2030s. That SpaceX has other priorities that are more important than the Dear Moon mission, and they're not likely to commit the resources to get Dear Moon done. And Yusaka Miyazawa, also his company, I think, halved in value in the past few years, and so it just doesn't make sense for him to commit the resources to that anymore. Do I think robotaxi is this year possible, or by what year guaranteed? Um, I think that robotaxi. I think there's a decent chance that Tesla will start robotaxi trials by the end of this year, but more likely next year. And by robotaxi trials, I mean San Francisco, Los Angeles, Chandler, Arizona, a few cities, maybe in China, a few cities. Probably not robotaxi trials in China yet. Maybe next year for China. And then the question isn't really when we see robotaxi trials, but when do we see more widespread robotaxi rollout? And I do think that happens next year. But I've been optimistic about that in the future, and I've been wrong. Elon's been optimistic about the future, and I've been wrong. I think that the Cybercab may have been pushed back on its timeline, and that is an indication that robotaxi will happen later. Um, but I think Model 3s and Model Ys will be functional as robotaxis, so it may happen sooner as well. Um, so I think I covered Dear Moon. Oh, we've been going for a while. Hour and 15 minutes. Did we cover? Is there anything else I wanted to cover? So let's talk about Waymo is everywhere in Los Angeles. I think Waymo is limited somewhat in Los Angeles. I don't think they're everywhere. Waymo just doesn't have a long-term scalable solution. They don't have a profitable solution. They don't have their cost structure to the point where they can actually sell rides at a profit. Tesla has following a path where they can sell rides at a profit because their cost per mile is going to be 20, 10 cents, 15 cents a mile in a Model 3, 15 cents a mile or so in a Model 3 and Model Y. And then the Cybercab will probably be 10 cents a mile. And then the ride price, the cost per ride will probably be around 20 cents a mile. And you'll sell rides for $1 a mile, make crazy money. Waymo's cost per mile is probably $2 a mile or $4 a mile. Eric Williams asks, what do I think of Chase Oliver for president? Libertarians for the win. So I don't know enough about Chase Oliver. So if you're not familiar with me, I identify as libertarian. I identify as a boomer. Um, I generally vote for a libertarian for president. I have voted libertarian for president mostly. What I've seen of Chase Oliver so far has not been positive. I think that he is way off the focus of what the Libertarian Party should stand for. And I think that the focus of the Libertarian Party should be reducing government and shouldn't be focused on blaming other foreign countries for our problems. And I shouldn't be focused on advancing like some woke agenda. And I don't know enough about Chase Oliver, and I'll give him a chance. I really so this presidential election may be the hardest one ever for me because for those who don't know, I have personal animosity towards Donald Trump that's probably unrelated to anything you guys know about or care about. I absolutely hate Joe Biden just like I hated Obama. Obama's "you didn't build that" has never left my mind. I've never been more angry about anything a politician said than when Obama said "you didn't build that." Anybody who's ever built a business understands what I mean. And you can tell me all you want what context he said it in. I don't care. I think it is core to the Democratic Party that people like me who build businesses do not add value and that government is the real solution to our problems. And I think they are 100% wrong. And I think Biden and Obama believe that, and that is horrible for society. At the same time, I think Trump is. I don't care about the criminal charges or whatever. I don't care about any of that. I think he actually did in some areas a pretty good job as president, but he increased spending by 65% in 4 years and blew out the debt, did a lot of things related to COVID I don't like. I think Trump was not a great president, and I don't think he'll be a good president again. And I think anybody who believes anything he says is not paying attention to the fact that he changes his mind, once a minute. Whether he's lying or not, he just changes his mind so fast that he never delivers on his promises. Him saying, well, maybe I'll pardon Ross Ulbricht. Like, you were president. You could have pardoned Edward Snowden, Ross Ulbricht, and Julian Assange, and you didn't do it. Why would I trust you to do it in the second term when you didn't do it in the first term? If it's the right thing to do, you should have done it. If you don't think it's the right thing to do, tell us. Don't give me this bullshit. Well, if you vote for me, I'll consider it. That's bullshit. And then Chase Oliver's crappy, and I think RFK is a sham candidate. So I'm left with like, who the hell do I vote for? So I will investigate Chase Oliver more and probably hold my nose and vote for him, but I have to learn more about him first. And if he's really bad, it's going to be really hard for me to vote for Donald Trump. It'll be really, really hard for me to vote for. If you understand the personal animosity, um, his flunkies attacked me, defamed me, and I sued them publicly. And I think Trump hiring Roger Stone was an like Roger Stone is absolute fucking scum. And for Donald Trump to choose to work with Roger Stone is enough for me to know I don't think I can ever vote for the guy. And if you don't know who Roger Stone is and you're not familiar with who he is, if you want American politics to be cleaner and fairer and better, then you don't want Roger Stone involved. And anybody who works with a guy like that. And I know the Democrats have scumbags working for them too, but Elon ends up leaving that he should never take any of his other companies public. Why would he put? No, he can take the companies public where it's okay, where they are utility like in form. So Starlink is basically going to be a utility. Neuralink, once it's up and running and successful, will probably be more like utility. Once you achieve a certain level, and maybe it's like you spin off a part of the company that's doing like the operational side, but you keep the research side privately held. I think there's ways of making that work. You identify what part of the supercharger network. You could IPO the supercharger network. I'm surprised that they're not supercharging, IPOing the supercharger network. I think that would be a huge move for Tesla. You can take the stuff that's not long-term mission focused and have that go public and keep the long-term mission stuff privately held. Is there a scenario where Tesla could produce 10 million vehicles a year? I think Tesla will produce, assuming Elon stays with the company and robotaxi is developed, Tesla will produce 20 million vehicles a year in maybe 2032. I initially thought they would get there in 2030, but I think the public health crisis and the supply chain crisis and the macroeconomic stuff has all slowed growth for everybody, and it's probably pushed back the timeline 2 years. But once you have a robotaxi network where your demand for vehicles is nearly infinite, and Tesla, once you start running a robotaxi network, you're generating so much cash you can build factories and build them fast. So how many do they need to sell? They don't sell robotaxis; they sell rides. Could always vote for The Rock. Do I think Tesla could acquire xAI or SpaceX to get Elon his voting rights? Tesla acquiring other companies doesn't get Elon voting rights. I don't know why people think that. Tesla's not going to acquire SpaceX. SpaceX wants to stay privately held. xAI wants to stay privately held. It does not make sense for Tesla, a publicly traded company, to acquire one of Elon's privately held companies, not to mention the massive claims of conflict of interest and fiduciary lawsuits that would follow. It's scary. People don't understand how important this vote is and are voting against their interest. Yeah, that's the Elon man bad syndrome, Heinz. People have orange man bad syndrome and hate. I hate Trump for specific reasons that aren't related to Trump derangement syndrome. I have personal experience with Donald Trump's people, and I have watched Donald Trump. I blame Donald Trump for Herschel Walker for what he did to Herschel Walker. The only time I ever liked Donald Trump was when he was in a Home Alone 2, I think. He had a cameo appearance in Home Alone 2. I thought he was good in that. The only time I ever liked him. And he has been I'm pro-Israel. He has been pro-Israel. I don't want to give him money. He has a slimy handshake. That's funny. Um, so let's just talk about one other issue that I think is important, which does not get enough attention, is the fertility crisis. Humanity's headed for extinction. I think you want to talk about things people downplay. Humanity's headed for extinction. We are not having enough children as a society, as a global society. We're not having enough children. There are countries in Africa that are having a lot of children, but they are declining. Most of the industrialized world, most of the developed world, even like Thailand, the birth rate is below replacement rate. And I think in Korea, it's so low that Korea's population is going to collapse soon. Shook his hand once. I don't know. I don't like shaking most politicians' hands. So population collapse is a real problem. One of my, I don't know if I would call it a criticism, maybe it's one of my biggest surprises that Elon has not advanced any solutions to the population collapse problem. At least nothing that I've heard. He knows it's a problem. He thinks people should talk about it. He doesn't have a solution. I think I have a partial solution to the problem, which is that young people should be encouraged to get married and have children, to start looking for a partner to marry and have children with at 18. As soon as they turn 18, they should start looking. Not to say they should get married at 18, but they should start searching for that partner at 18. And if they find that partner at 19, they should get married and start having children. And society should support them developing their education and their career while they're doing that. That is a future way, because if you wait until you're 30, 32, 30 to start looking, your window is roughly, for both men and women, your window is roughly 18 to 40. We can talk about the window starting earlier, but I don't need to go there. The window roughly is from 18 to 40 that you can have children. And you can tell me all you want that men in their 40s can have children. It gets a lot harder when you get older. You're just not paying attention to reality if you think it's not harder for men in their 40s than it is for men in their 30s and men in their 20s. For a variety of reasons, it's harder than you realize. I know the manosphere will say, no, get into your 40s and you'll have all this money and then women will fall over you. It's not true. That's not real. I'm a millionaire and I had trouble getting dates. Okay. And I don't think, I'm not saying I'm super attractive, but I had trouble getting first dates. So that is not true. So start at 18, find a partner. I'm not, you might it's going to take you time, but the longer you wait to start trying to find the partner, the harder it's going to be because you have a shorter window. And frankly, I think people who are in their 20s are more attractive than people who are in their 30s. So your most attractive years and your most fertile years are younger. You should be pursuing that sooner. Chris E says women after 40 live longer after having children. I don't know what that means. I think you need to rewrite that so it's understandable. Are you saying women who have children after 40 live longer? Women who have children probably live longer, period. But it's not about whether the woman lives longer, it's whether we have more children. Elon has been busy procreating while running 6 countries. If AI can replace white-collar jobs, then we need to train immigrants to build homes. Could the US be in a best-case scenario, Warren? I think that we haven't talked about Optimus, so let's talk about Optimus. I think Tesla is developing humanoid robots. I think other companies are working on robots. I think there will be humanoid robots and non-humanoid robots that will be developed with real-world AI, and I think they will get a lot of work done. I think my personal thing for Tesla is they should be developing a robot that is optimized for installing solar panels and solar roof tiles, solar panels on roofs and solar roof tiles. I think that one of the largest costs of installing solar is the humans who do the work. And it's also a very risky job. So you have high workers' comp premiums and people get injured. And if you could replace half the roofing crew with robots, I think you save a ton of money. You get more work done. It'd be great. So I think I picture Tesla developing something like a spider bot that is able to work on roofs and have a low center of gravity so it's able to function better on a sloped roof and be able to deploy massive amounts of solar quickly. That's going to be necessary, and I hope Tesla's work. I don't know that they're working on it. I know they've said other friendly robots, so I think they've got other forms coming. The Gormless Twit, thank you for this question. How do I like my life in Bangkok? Why did you give up on Japan? I love this question. So first of all, why did I give up on Japan? I didn't really give up on Japan. I went to Japan for 3 months. I had a 90-day visa. The visa was about to expire. I was waiting to hear about a startup visa. I didn't hear about the startup visa. I did get approved, but I heard about it like with 3 days to go, and I'd already planned my travels. So what I planned to do was go to India, indefinite period of time, hit Bangkok, hit Philippines, and come back to Japan and try again in Japan. And I met someone in Bangkok. So I have a girlfriend, and I'm very happy here with my girlfriend. So I didn't really give up on Japan. I had a limited window in Japan, but I did have the plan to go back and give Japan another shot. I think I pursued Japan wrong. I focused too much on the visa, not enough on dating. When I got to Bangkok, I really focused on dating a lot. And I think that was helpful. I think you really have to put a lot of work in. If you want to find somebody, you have to put a lot of work in. So I was doing like 3 first dates a day in Bangkok. So I think Japan has the highest quality of life on the planet, but it's harder to stay there. Bangkok has a very high quality. I would say Bangkok has a higher quality of life than most American cities. I'm going to say this like boldly. Like if you can live near the green line or the blue line, which are 2 transit lines, and there are other lines and they're okay. But I live 10-minute walk from the blue line, and it's a skywalk with a covered roof, and from the mall next door. If you can live near the blue line or the green line, so you have easy transit, cost of living is shockingly low. I'm in a 2-bedroom, 2-bath condo with a spectacular view. If you haven't seen it yet, here's the view. That's the Chao Phraya River. It's the best view I've seen um, in Bangkok. Um, I'm on the 36th floor. We've got this condo has a 2-floor gym. It has an 8th floor infinity swimming pool. There's a 7-Eleven on the ground floor, which is very popular. It's unbelievable how popular 7-Eleven is in Thailand. There's a mall next door with a grocery store and the food court. And I'm paying $600 a month for this condo. I would be paying $2,500 a month in a small American city, 35, 400, $4,000 a month in a major American city for this condo. I'm paying $600 a month. I can eat for I can have dinner for about a buck 50 at the food court in the mall next door. Maybe a dollar if I push it. I take my girlfriend out for a dinner and we could spend less than $20 on sushi, less than $10 on a lot of meals. So it's easy to live as a single. My joke is that you can live in Thailand. A single man can live in Thailand, $300 a month or on $1,000 a month. I'm going to do the short version of the joke: $300 a month for rent, $300 a month for food, and it leaves $400 a month for hookers. That's a joke. The hookers don't cost that much. No, seriously. There are other expenses, but um, so the quality of food is high here. You know, there's Thai restaurants everywhere in the world. There's Japanese food everywhere here, and the Japanese food is reasonably priced. It's better and cheaper in Japan, but it's still reasonably priced here. So I can go get a katsudon for $3, 350, something like that. What did I pay? Yeah, I can get a katsudon for like 350. I can get a bowl of ramen for like $3. Um, I can get a plate of pad krapao for a buck 50. Pad krapao is a classic Thai dish, pork with basil or chicken with basil for like a dollar 50 in the food court, and in a restaurant down the street, whatever. So cost of living is super low, quality of food is high, sidewalks kind of suck, air quality is not great. Um, Not a great place for walking, but I do walk a lot. So Kevin King asks, are Thai men jealous of Western men coming to Thailand and dating, marrying Thai women? I would say generally no. I have not seen any hint of that whatsoever. If anything, they're encouraging us. I don't understand why one way or another, but I have not seen that as an issue. Um, yeah, mass transit is I don't want to say mass transit is fantastic in Bangkok. It's good. There's a lot of places it doesn't go. It's a little slower. Mass transit in Japan is better by far. The trains in Japan are faster. The connections are better. There's a lot of quirks in mass transit here, but if you are on the green line or on the blue line, you can go to a lot of places reasonably fast, reasonably cheap. Um, and Mark Potashnik says there's so many Thai and Philippine women out there. Look, I worked really hard to find somebody, and I feel very lucky that I found my girlfriend. I have friends who are dating in Thailand, and it's not as easy. It's easy to find women. It's not easy to find the woman you want. It's not easy to find the right woman. So if you have the wrong objectives, or you don't communicate well, or you don't filter well, I really had a filter. I filtered for college degree and speaks good English, and that dramatically reduced the pool, but it made the dates better. Um, my volume is low. I think my volume is fine. Testing 1, 2, 3. My volume is fine. I don't see anything wrong with my volume. It might be you, Nelson. Thank you for mentioning it, but as far as I can tell, my volume is okay. So, have I tried the hot Thai peppers yet? There's a variety of Thai hot peppers. So, what were the key attributes that had you choose your girlfriend? Educated and speaks English reasonably well. It's hard to date someone who doesn't speak English. She speaks English far better than the average Thai woman or Thai person, far better than the average Japanese person. Um, and then I like fit, and she's fit. Um, there are there's like no there's almost nobody overweight in Japan. There's some obesity in Thailand, not like the US. What type of foreigners are Thai women attracted to in general? Is race or money? To my knowledge, I don't think those are issues. I don't. I think that you go on dates and they'll date whoever, and um, I don't actually have an answer to that question. I'm sure there's YouTube channels that answer that question. Malls are a great place. Thailand is filled with malls. I have a mall next door called Gateway Mall. That's like probably a mid-tier mall. It's got like 8 floors. It's got a movie theater, but it's not an IMAX theater. The grocery store on the ground floor is a smaller grocery store, but still good. It's a big C that's not big. Tons of Japanese restaurants, a Thai food court, etc. I met her on Thai Cupid. You use Thai Cupid and Thai Friendly, and my personal opinion is you should come to Thailand if you're going to date Thai women. You should go to the Philippines if you're going to date Filipino women. I don't think it's a good strategy to date from a distance. Come, find a way to spend a month, spend 3 months here. Yeah. So, and then there's an area when I mentioned the Green Line before. There's an area between Siam, SIAM, and Prompong, PHROMPHONG, where there are several like spectacular malls. Siam Paragon's a great mall. Central World is like an absurdly large mall. I get lost in Central World. It's just insane how big that mall is. Terminal 21 is a great mall that's at the intersection of the blue and green lines. I'm there a lot. People love that mall. Prompong has the EM district, M Sphere, M Courtier, and M Emporium malls. I have not been to Phuket yet. And we went to Krabi, which is similar to Phuket. Does my girlfriend have a visa to visit the US? We haven't applied for a visa for the US yet. As I understand it, the more she travels internationally, the easier it will be for her to get a visa. I expect that we will come to the United States late this year, early next year to pick up my Cybertruck. And we'll probably spend a few weeks in the US. I'm not sure how long a visa she'll be able to get. But by traveling we traveled to Vietnam together, we traveled to Malaysia together, we're traveling to Japan together, we're probably going to go to Laos together. By getting those, and she's been to Germany and Istanbul. I think she's had some other travel experience, so having that experience will make it more likely she gets a U.S. visa. Um, I think it probably is possible to get fat in Thailand because the food is not only good but it's cheap. But I have not found that. I have not been gaining weight in Thailand so much because of the quality of the food. I've been gaining weight because I snack. I haven't been gaining weight. I gained weight because I tried to build strength and I've been eating a high protein diet and working out, and I built a lot of muscle mass and I added some fat. The Gormless Twit says, does she have many single friends in Farang? I don't think so. I certainly haven't asked her that question. I haven't tried to introduce. I have friends here. I haven't tried to introduce them. They haven't asked. She hasn't asked. I just think that if you come to Thailand and you use the Thai Cupid and the Thai friendly apps, and you screen for education and speaks English well, and you ignore the incoming messages because there will be an insane flood of incoming messages, and there's a large number of prostitutes on the apps, and and they're obvious, they don't hide it, then you will find what you're looking for. And if you want prostitutes, then they're here. I don't recommend that. Are there lots of EVs on roads there? I heard smog is bad. Okay, so the air pollution problem is really an agricultural air pollution problem rather than a vehicle. Not to say that vehicles are not a contributor, but the major air pollution problem in Southeast Asia is from agricultural burns. And once the rainy season hits, the rain brings it down and reduces the air pollution. So it's like 3-4 months a year that you have an air pollution problem. Um, and then I have been seeing more and more EVs. I saw 3 Teslas yesterday on our drive to Lopburi, and one on our drive back. All Model Ys. I saw a BYD Atto. We were behind for a while. BYD Atto 3, and we passed by a BYD store. I see more BYDs than any other EV, but there are a lot of Chinese EVs in Thailand. They're growing. There's still a long way to go, but they are growing fast. Will Starship launch thin film solar in orbit to generate electricity to beam to Earth while acting as sunshades to cool the Earth? Elon has said no to that. He thinks that solar on Earth will be fine. Do they have Orange Julius at the mall? I haven't noticed Orange Julius, but I wouldn't be surprised if it was here. There's a lot of American brands. There's a ton of Japanese brands here that seem to dominate. There's like so many Japanese chain restaurants here. It's shocking. There's Japanese chain grocery stores, and then there's McDonald's, Starbucks, H&M, KFC. There's lots of American brands everywhere. Oh, what's the pretzel one? Auntie Anne's. I just had Auntie Anne's little mini pretzel dogs the other day. A fancy Tesla air filter would help. Yeah. Agricultural pollution is that they do burns. They burn large amounts of stuff, and it puts smoke into the air, and it just floats over. There's like a cloud of agricultural pollution that hangs over Southeast Asia for months. And if you go far enough south in Thailand, you get out of the cloud. You have to go south of Hua Hin. So Chumpon is out of it. Mark Potocnik says Starship's launch date is June 6, 2024, 7 a.m. Central Daylight Time, Orbital Launch Pad A, Starbase. Thank you, Mark. So June 6, 2024 would be June 7 a.m. would be June 6th. I'm going to be in Japan. So I think that's going to be maybe 8 p.m. in Japan. I'll have to figure out what time that is. I will watch that launch for sure. Do I see any organic foods available? I do see organic foods. Yeah, it's a thing. The major grocery stores will have organic. At least meats. I haven't noticed with vegetables one way or another. I believe that, like, what's it called? Gourmet Market is a popular grocery store chain in the big mall, in some of the big malls. And I believe Gourmet Market has organic vegetables as well. And they all have organic meats. I see these, and they're like, one of the best things about Thailand and Japan is Asian people don't like chicken breast. So it's like the cheapest meat. It's cheaper than pork. Like, beef is expensive here. Pork is cheaper than beef. And some chicken is expensive, but chicken breast is actually the cheap. It's like $2 a pound for chicken breast. Like the chicken tenders, the chicken tenders are the same price as the chicken breasts. And I just end up buying chicken tenders for like $2 a pound and cooking. And I also, by the way, eating out is so cheap. I'm like, why am I bothering to cook? Like, it like makes me wonder why, because it probably costs less to have the same meal at a restaurant than it costs for me to cook it myself. But I like to have quinoa or lentils as my starch instead of having rice or noodles. I do sometimes cook rice and sometimes cook noodles, but I'm able to control that more. Have I noticed much inflation since I've been there? No. I believe that Japan has been experiencing some inflation. Certainly, my hotels in Japan and my upcoming trip are more expensive than they were a year ago. But I have not noticed significant inflation in Thailand. I'm sure people complain about it, but I have not noticed significant inflation since I've been here since December, off and on, and I have not noticed significant inflation here. If anything, in dollar value, I think the dollar got a little bit stronger and things got cheaper for me. Chemical-free food is the secret to good health. I'm not as big on that. I think the secret to good health is eat a high-protein diet, exercise a lot, and try to avoid snacking. These are my challenges, right? Because I built a lot of muscle mass. Like maybe this doesn't look big to people who are really strong, but I'm 58 years old, approaching 60, and I used to be I used to be skinny fat, and now I'm somewhat strong but still a little fat. How much is a good size house or condo in Thailand? Do they have high property taxes? Great question. You paid $2 a pound for boneless chicken breast where? I was paying like I'm talking about just in the grocery store. I'm not talking about like when you buy it frozen in I'm saying in the grocery store at the counter when you're buying chicken breast, like the fresh chicken breast, $2 a pound. Small package, not like a big package. How much is a good size house or condo in Thailand? Do they have high property taxes? So condos in Bangkok are about $100,000 starting price. They start under $100,000, like probably $67,000 for a small condo. And then you can pay a lot more depending on where you want to go. Houses, foreigners cannot buy landed property in general. So you can't really buy a house. Like I might at some point buy something and put it in my girlfriend's name, and there's a risk there that your girlfriend dumps you. I have a solution to that. I don't know about the property taxes one way or another. I know that there's some tax issues here, but I just haven't worried about that yet. And I'm renting, so I don't worry about that part. How did you find your apartment? There are apps, but ultimately I found that the websites, whatever, were unreliable in the listings, and I ended up hiring an agent who helped me find. I figured out where I wanted to be. We live. This condo is 10 minutes from my girlfriend's, or 12-minute walk from my girlfriend's mother. So I wanted to be in this area to be near her mother. If we have children, I'd like to be near her mother. She has nieces who live with her mother, and to be able to visit her nieces is a big deal. We actually saw them yesterday. So, and this is not some parts of Bangkok are foreigner dense. This part of Bangkok is not foreigner dense. So there's not very many foreigners here. It's a 12-month lease, and I'm working on I'm on a 3-month visa now. I was going to extend to a 1-year visa, but some bureaucratic stuff happens. So I have to go to Laos and get another like 45-day visa and then extend from that one. It's all complicated. Um, so yeah, I'm on a 12-month lease here. And the commitment is really like you basically do first month, last month, and deposit. And if you leave early, you lose the first and last month. And I don't intend to leave. I like this place. Um, I like this area. I like this spot. It's easy to get into foreigner land on a 35-minute, you know, transit ride or whatever. But I like being where I am. Yeah, you can buy condos. You can't buy landed property, and maybe they'll change that, but I doubt it. Um, I think you can form a corporation. Your corporation can buy the property, or there's ways around this stuff. Like if I got a startup visa, I think I could buy property. Um, yeah. So, all right, I think I've gone way longer than I intended. We're at an hour and 45 minutes. So I think this is a good time to wrap up. Um, please watch the Starship launch. Have I considered leasing land and putting in a boxable? Boxable's not going to happen. I hope you're joking. That's not going to happen. I don't think Boxable is going to be delivering Boxables to Thailand, and building would be much cheaper here than bringing a Boxable over. So please check out the Starship launch. According to Mark Potashnik, it's currently scheduled for Thursday, June 6, 2024, 7 a.m. Central Daylight Time. Are you going to try and get back your youth and vitality health stronger here? So I have been going to the gym almost every day for 3 years. I have been eating a high protein diet. My health is fantastic. My blood pressure is where it should be. My resting pulse is under 60. I am lifting weights, and I believe my VO2 max is now over 40, which is a really big deal for a 58-year-old. That's probably better than the average 35-year-old. Hair, I'm not going to try to do anything about my hair. I like it the way it is. Check out the Hostess bars in Tokyo. Yeah, no. I got my girlfriend with me. We'll be fine. We'll have a lot of fun. I'm not gonna. I don't believe in Boxable. I think Boxable's a sham company. Sorry, no offense to Galliano Tiramani, but I don't think that company is viable. I think it's definitely not something that's going to work in Thailand. Cost of building here is way less than the cost of getting a Boxable here. It's just silly. So yeah, Mark and I agree on that one. I don't know if I would call it a fraud. It's just not a viable. It's like a business. Sounds like a good idea, and they just can't execute at scale. So, all right. So, thanks everybody so much for watching. Thank you to Mark Potachnik for moderating the chat. Thanks to everybody for your comments in the chat. Please, if you haven't voted already, please vote your shares for the board recommendations for Tesla. Get Elon's compensation package through. I'm going to buy back in. We're all going to have great. I'm not taking TRT. I take omeprazole and Cialis. Cialis is greater than TRT. It's actually technically tadalafil. So thanks everybody so much for watching. And I hope you all have a great day, great night, whatever, and look forward to Starship. It's going to be a blast. Hopefully not a blast. It'll be fun. Bye-bye, everybody.